G'day and welcome back. Today we have the Eldrazi Unbound Commander deck from Commander Masters. This is my first little look at it, so we'll go through it, have a look at what's inside, see what's the best commanders to run out of the two, and yeah, just see what quality this is. As we can see to begin with, it's made in USA, which is interesting. As we all know, some of the printings aren't the best from USA, but we'll pop it open and have a look. So we have Zhulodok Void Gorger as your face commander. You get some little +1/+1 counters on the box, and yeah, just a normal sort of thing. Then we have some nice box art. Here we are, Eldrazi on it. And let's pop it open and see what's inside. So these decks are a little bit easier to pull apart than some of the other ones that we've had. So you get your life, spin down counter, no Eldrazi specific art on here, which is interesting. You get obviously your how to play sort of guide in here with some nice little artwork, and then you get your sample pack and the deck itself. So let's pop the booster sample pack open, the collector booster sample pack, see what's inside. Some of these have been actually quite decent that we've hit on them. Okay, I think it's around this way. So first off, we've got Talran Sky Summoner in the profile art, which is quite nice, and full art foil arcane signet. That's quite cool. So yeah, nice little upgrade to some of your decks if you've got them, a little bit of extra value. I know these deck prices are quite high, and let's be honest, to justify it's not really worth it that way. It's 10 extra cards, unique cards in this, so they better be bangers of cards to be worth it. So let's start off with the commander. So you've got Zhulodok Void Gorger, so colorless spells you cast from your hand with mana value 7 or greater have Cascade. So the ability is really nice. He's 6 mana for a 7/4, so he's not that big. You possibly could commanded damage someone if you hit him 3 times, so that's a nice little option on it. But that Cascade is where we're really looking for him. So we need 7 CMC spells, ways to ramp and get there really to get the benefit out of him. Okay, let's have a look. So we'll put him down here. We're going to start breaking him down into which cards work well with which commanders as well. And then Omarthis, Ghostfire Initiate. So he's an XX Spirit Naga, so he's not even a Eldrazi. But he enters the battlefield with X +1/+1s on him, and whenever you put 1 or more +1/+1s on another colorless creature, you may put a +1/+1 on him. So it's a pretty cool little effect. Then he's also got, when he dies, manifest a number of cards from the top of your library equal to the number of counters on it. So when he dies, if you've got 2, basically the top of the library, top 2 go down, and they become 2/2 colorless creatures. You can flip them if you pay that cost if they're a creature. So realistically, you want a very creature heavy deck if you're running him. You want a lot of ways to put +1/+1s on him. So here's a cool little interesting commander, but yeah, we'll check out which way they go. So we've got basically 7 CMC, Eldrazi's, and +1/+1 counters. So first card is now Burnished Heart. So Burnished Heart works with both of them because obviously you want to be ramping. It's a colorless ramp, which is quite nice, so we'll put it in the middle. Geode Golem. Geode Golem lets you cast your commander without paying its mana cost. Useless here because it's an X spell, so it'd be 0. So it only works with Zhulodok, the Void Gorger, which he's 6 anyway. So I mean, if you're going 5 to cast your commander, it's not the greatest card, but it definitely goes down that way. Lightning Greaves, great card, good reprint. In the middle, can go with both. Meteor Golem, so when it enters the battlefield, destroy target non-land permanent opponent controls. 7 CMC, so definitely down that path, doesn't do +1/+1s. And Soul Ring, every deck should have one. Thought Vessel, great card, great ramp. Thran Dynamo, another great card, great ramp. Unstable Obelisk, so 3 mana rock, and then you can destroy permanent. It's nice to have that on there. There is better mana rocks out there, but I mean, look, it's a mana rock, so we'll chuck it in there. Then for lands, they give you Reliquary Tower, which is pretty cool. Rogue's Passage, so you could use it with with your 7 power commander to try to commander damage someone. So they're pretty good. We'll just put them to the side. Then we've got, okay, so first Eldrazi, Artisan of Kozilek, which is a nice reprint. 9 mana, so it's definitely down this way. Bane of Balaged, Really cool. 7 mana, Eldrazi, ticks all the boxes for Cascade. Not of This World, 7 mana, counter target spell or ability that targets permanent you control. It costs 7 less if it targets a creature you control with power 7 or greater, so it actually works really well with your commander, so really good synergy there. So definitely down this path. Spatial Contortion, target creature gets +3/-3 until the end of the turn. So it's a pseudo removal for colorless. So I'll put it in the middle because realistically you could run it in both decks if you need that removal. Then we've got Titan's Presence, so additional cost to cast a spell, reveal a colorless creature from your hand, exile target creature if its power is less than or equal to the revealed card's power. So a lot of big Eldrazi's, so for 3 mana you're exiling most creatures. So definitely more geared this way because if you're heading down the +1/+1 counters, I see a few different avenues to go there that aren't, like you don't get very big creatures out of them. So I think this is definitely on this side. Then we're sitting at Warping Whale. Same thing, you can exile creatures, create scions. It's a bit of everything. It falls pretty much in both because it's a counter as well. Crashing Drawbridge. So this is a sneaky little card that a lot of people haven't really been using, but it's really cool because it's a 2 mana 0/4, so a good blocker. It's an artifact creature, which is nice. It not really relevant here, but still defender, and you can tap it to give you creatures haste until the end of the turn. So a sneaky little way to get haste in there for artifacts. Honestly, for these decks, it's just a haste enabler, so kind of like your Lightning Greaves. You don't get any real benefit from casting it because it's an artifact, so it could go either way. This is a card that I'm probably looking at pulling out of this deck, though. Then we have Dreamstone Hedron, 6 mana for 3. You can sack it to draw cards. Good. It's mana ramp. You need a lot of mana to fuel these guys, so even though it's not the most efficient one, it's still worth having in your deck. I'm going to put it in the middle because going either way, I think it's still very mana hungry. Everflowing Chalice is really good because you can kick it. I think it even leans a little bit more towards your +1/+1 commander because if you can proliferate, you can actually increase the counters on it and get a little bit more mana out of it, but still very, very relevant in either one of the commanders. Fire Shrieker, so it gives a creature double strike. Look, not a lot of abuse in this deck with Fire Shrieker, so I'm going to put it to the side. It's still a fun card, still a way that you can like Rogue's Passage with it, but yeah, it's not the best. Hedron Archive, more mana. We've got Mindstone, more mana. Ornithopter of Paradise, 2 mana, flying, add 1 mana of any color. I get it, it's kind of a mana rock, but it's actually a really bad one. These cards don't really care for this. It's not Eldrazi, it's not tribal, it's artifacts. This isn't artifact tribal either, so that's definitely one I'm looking at pulling out. Palladium Mirror, not bad. Mana Fuel, it's an artifact creature. I mean, look, it gives you 2 for 3, which is okay, so we'll leave it in here for now. Scare Tiller, so when it becomes tapped, you can drop a land on it or return a land from your graveyard to the battlefield. I don't think it's very relevant in here. We do have quite a lot of ways to ramp now, and this kind of creature, I think I'd rather see another Eldrazi in this slot, so we'll put it to the side. Then we have this Suspicious Bookcase, so 2 mana, 0/4, Defender again, and 3 mana, target creature can't be blocked this turn. Look, yeah, cool for your big Eldrazi's, not bad, but I mean, evasion, there's better evasion out there, so I'm going to put it to the side and we'll put better evasion in. Worn Powerstone, more mana, so we can pop that down there. Arcane Lighthouse, yeah, good ways to target people's creatures. Then we've got a really, really nice reprint here. We've got Kozilek, so yeah, good way to counter people's spells. It's really good in both decks, but I mean, what this deck wants to do with our +1s, I think we'll go in a different direction, so we'll definitely go towards more Eldrazi that way. Obtrusive Archaic, 4 mana, Avatar Vigilance, and you can copy target activated or triggered ability from you control from a colorless source. You can choose new targets, so you can copy the Cascades, which is pretty cool. So doesn't hit the 7 that you need, but it could go into both because you can copy the death trigger as well. But I think it's definitely better in this deck over here. Then we've got Calamity of the Titans, so you can reveal a colorless creature from your hand when you cast it. Exile each creature and planeswalker with mana value less than the revealed card's mana. So really good in really big creatures. I don't think it'll suit this deck, so we're going to go big Eldrazi's. That can be good to wipe the board. Then we've got Desecrate Reality. So for each opponent, exile up to one target permanent that player controls with an even mana value, and if at least 3 colorless mana is spent to cast this, you can return a permanent card with odd mana value from the graveyard to the battlefield. So yeah, cool card. It can work both ways, so I'm going to put it here because yeah, I think you could fit it into both decks really. Flayer of Loyalties, yeah, cool, great spell. Really big Eldrazi, works really well over here. Rise of the Eldrazi, so it's a 12 mana cost spell, which is insane. Can't be countered, destroys target permanents, target player draws 4 cards, takes an extra turn after this one, and exile it. It could go in both decks. It's very mana hungry. I feel like this deck probably wants a little bit more because you're going more towards mana, where this deck you can probably get away with lower cost 1/1s and +1 counter creatures. So I'm going to put it over here because yeah, I think it's just a bit too expensive going over to the other deck. Then we've got Skittering Cicada. So you can play colorless spells as though they had flash, and then it gives it +X and trample where it's the spell's mana value that you cast. So yeah, cool little insect, gives everything here flash. So I mean, both decks would really love that. Eugene's Mastery, 4 mana. Whenever you cast a colorless creature spell, manifests the top card of your library, and then whenever you attack with creatures with power 6 or greater, you may turn one of them face up. This one definitely prefers it. You're going to get more value out of it this side, but considering you're going to be casting colorless creatures both ways, I think you could fit it into both decks. Darksteel Monolith, 8 mana, indestructible. Once each turn you pay 0 rather than pay the mana cost for a colorless spell from your hand. Amazing card. You got to hit that 8, but once you're there, I mean, that's so cool. It could definitely go into both ones because yeah, you are still paying some mana for this one. But yeah, definitely more benefit in the Eldrazi. All is Dusk, amazing. It's a board wipe and it doesn't touch your stuff because everything is colorless. So we'll put it in the middle again. Let's shift these over a touch. Okay, Endbringer. So it's a 6 mana. It untaps, it can ping things, it can draw cards. I mean, it works in both decks. It's not 7, so it doesn't satisfy this cascade effect, but the draw ability is sneaky good in this, and 6 mana 5/5 that can ping a damage each turn is pretty cool. So I like it in both. I'd still keep it. The Eldrazi flavor is why I'd keep it in this deck. I'd put it in this deck because the draw ability, I'm looking at it more as, yes, it's a body, but it's also draw, it's also ping, and target creature can't attack or block, so you can do a bit of control. So it's a bit of everything. So then we've got the Endless one. Endless one actually works in both decks because you can get up to 7 to cast it with this one to get the cascade, or you can use it and get the +1/+1. So it actually works really well in both decks. Then we've got It That Betrays. Cool reprint. Interesting art on the reprint too. But yeah, really great. It definitely is more over this side because it doesn't actually do anything here. No +1s, no benefit there. Matter Reshaper, when it dies, you reveal from the top of your library. You can put a card if it's mana value 3 or less. Otherwise, put it into your hand. So, look, it's replacing itself. It's Eldrazi for the tribal, which is alright, but it's not 7, so you're not getting cascade off of it. You can cascade into it, which is cool. But look, honestly, I think it actually needs to be pulled out. I don't think it's that amazing. You do get a card from it. It does replace itself, but that's a spot that I think you can definitely put something else in. Oblivion Sower. When you cast a spell, target opponent exiles top 4 cards of the library. You can put any number of lands on them onto the battlefield under your control. So it's 6 mana Eldrazi, doesn't hit him. The ability is really good though. It's a pseudo mana ramp, so you could put it into both decks because it's kind of like a solemn almost in a way. Usually you hit a land or sometimes 3. So I see it more as mana ramp, so I'd probably keep it in either of them, even though it doesn't really benefit. Eugene the Ineffable, awesome both decks benefit from this. The 2 reduction is massive. It's one of the biggest ones that you can get just to colors, full stop. So yeah, no, that's really good. So now we'll go on to the next half. We have Ancient Stone Idol. Doesn't do +1/+1s, doesn't benefit, doesn't give you a reduction or anything. Cool card still, but I mean, definitely over this way because you want to cascade off of it. We've got Duplicant. It doesn't do what he wants to do. Yes, you're exiling a creature when it ETBs. Doesn't give you +1/+1s. I think that's a slot that we can put something else in. Endless Atlas. Tap it, draw a card. Only if you control 3 or more lands with the same name, you're going to get, what, I think there's 15 wastes in this deck. So you're going to activate that pretty easily. Pretty great in both. Forsaken Monument, still just amazing. Increasing your mana, buffing your creatures, gaining your life. Great in both decks. Hangerback Walker. Okay, so Hangerback Walker, you can cascade off of it, but I mean, you're paying 14 mana just to cascade, so it's definitely not that way. So we'll head over here. Investigator's Journal. Yeah, I don't like this. I don't like it in the deck. I don't think it's worth it. Pull it out. Caldara Complete. Look, big Eldrazi, big mana. You still get a big germ. I think it's not bad. It could go in both. I think they both want to attack as well. So yeah, I think you could probably leave it in both. Mazemind Tome, look pretty average for what it is. We'll take that out. Metalwork Colossus, yeah, so weird. I get that you're reducing the cost. There is a few artifacts here. If you're going artifact heavy, yeah, it would definitely shift more over to this deck. But I mean, Eldrazi is really what these guys want to do. I think this is a slot that you could remove. The 11 Cascade is really nice and could be worth it, but we're not running heavy artifacts, so we're not going to get a lot of this benefit from the cards. So I think that's one we can swap out. Mirage Mirror, yeah, becoming a copy of an Eldrazi for cheap's quite good. You can become a copy of a lot of things. It can be abusive. I still think, though, this is a slot that you would probably sub out for something else. Myriad Construct, this has a kicker on it. It's definitely +1/+1 counters. It's more over this way. Mystic Forge works well with both because you can cast colors spells from the top of your library and exile lands off the top for a life. Really cool, goes in both. Perilous Vault, so it's a board wipe for colorless, so 4 mana and tap at 5, exiles all non-land permanents. Look, there's a lot of artifact ramp in here to get you there. Doing this, wiping your own board that way, it's touch and go. I still would prefer to put something else in this slot. It's like a break in case of emergency almost thing. It's scary. I can't see it really working that well here. Phyrexian Trinoform, cool card, works really well. Encoring it out as well. You don't get the Cascade from the Encore, but still 9 mana for the Phyrexian Golem, which then splits into little dudes as well. Really good. We could sub it out for another bigger Eldrazi if we have the slots, but yeah, we'll put it back over into there. Solemn Simulacrum doesn't benefit from both of the commanders, but still mana ramp on a colorless creature, really good. Soul of New Phyrexia. So yeah, same thing, 6 mana, doesn't cascade. Yeah, you can give your permanents indestructible for 5, which is really expensive. Usually getting it out of your graveyards where the advantage is, but I want to replace this. I still think it's just not going to hit on either way. Steel Hellkite, great card, great way to remove things, but same thing again, 6 mana, just below the CMC for it to be free, so we'll pull that out. Stonecoil Serpent, cool, you can get it up to 7, so you could use it in both. The Reach, Trample, and Protection from Multicolored is still really amazing. It's definitely more geared this way, but you can definitely use it in both, so I'll put it there. Transmogrifying Wand, it's a way to destroy creatures. Look, yeah, you could keep it, but you can only activate it as a sorcery, which is one of the kind of downfalls to it. I think we can replace it with some bigger threats rather than just the removal. Archer Verazka, Blast Zone, Bonder's Enclave is a really nice one. So we've got some nice lands. We'll just flick through them, see what we've got. Eldrazi Temple's really nice. So this is definitely more geared over this way. +1s. Keep going. Urza's. Okay. And then the wastes. Yeah, rightio. And there's all the wastes. Then we've got the commander, the face commander in that thicker card. And what looks to be a whole heap of tokens, a fair few manifests, which is pretty cool, and the City's Blessings. So yeah, looking at it, I think the deck is definitely more geared towards, yes, the face commander. Works quite well around him. I still think there's a lot more that you could put in here. You've definitely got some of the big boys, so like your Kozileks, Ulamogs, Emrakuls, some of the big titans you could put into here to really benefit from him and have some big scary things. There is some other ways. I think it needs some more cost reduction over here. I think you can take out a bit of the mana here, so possibly like the Dreamstone Hedron, swap it out for something like a Cloud Key, Herald's Horn, name Eldrazi's. You've got Immortal Sun, you've got Semblance Anvil, you've got Urza's Incubator, which is a fantastic one if you gear this a lot more Eldrazi based. So if you pull out some of these boys, you can put some more Eldrazi's back into this deck as well. So you've got cheap ones like Desolated Twin, Breaker of Armies, Deceiver of Forms. Also there is Conduit of Ruins, which is a 6 mana one, which reduces your first creature spell by 2. Highly recommend putting that into this deck. Yeah, so geared this way, not too bad. Quite good with that face commander. There's quite a few cards that probably should be taken out because they are sort of +1/+1s. So those kinds of slots put in some extra little fun cards. If you want to go +1/+1s, a good way to do this commander is head towards modular. If you haven't looked up the mechanic, have a look. It's basically artifact creatures. When they come in with +1/+1 counters on them, and they're usually pretty well costed. So I think that's a really good way to go with him, is more artifact synergy. You've got things in that if you're going towards more artifact creatures, something that could be amazing in this deck would be like a Steel Overseer. It puts a +1/+1 on itself and taps for free, so you don't have to pay for it. And then if you're running a lot of like modular creatures, you can increase that. Obviously the Ozolith, it's an expensive card, but it's amazing with his ability, throwing those +1s onto creatures, claiming them back when they die and putting them again. Sword of Hours is a cheap little artifact card for when you attack. I think you need some ways to sack this guy. So I think possibly like Ashnod's Altars are a good way to do it. There is High Market. I don't believe we saw High Market in here, but that's a really good way in a land to kill it off to get the benefit from it. And then I think if you're going down artifact ways, you can start looking at proliferates. So your Staff of Completion from the Phyrexian Arc, that thing's reasonably cheap and you can proliferate, which will give him a lot of counters. And then, yeah, obviously like Throne of Geth, where you can sack an artifact to proliferate, is really nice. And then I would go for more evasion because you could get some really sneaky commander kills with this. So yeah, all in all, I think definitely geared this way. This guy I'd almost take out and make a separate deck around him. I think he could be a really, really fun little commander to play around, especially modular and artifact creatures, putting a few like flashes in there, some Videlcan Orreries, bits and pieces just to make him a really cool, sneaky little commander. But yeah, I like the deck. It's interesting. Is it worth the price difference? Probably not. There's only those 10 new cards, and I have seen, like, obviously we've been opening up the collector boosters and you get 1 per pack, so there's ways to get some of these cards if you want them. But yeah, thanks for watching. Let us know what you think about the deck, what you'd upgrade to it as well, or do you just want to keep it as a precon, and catch us on the next one.